These are 7 of the coolest games that you can play on Xbox Game Pass that you might have missed, including loads of different genres from FPS to racing games and everything in between. First, let's start off with probably one of my favorite games, and that is Insurgency Sandstorm. I've been playing Insurgency since the very first game that came out in early access on Steam back in sort of 2013, I believe it was. And since then, I found a love for the FPS tactical shooter genres, specifically ones that are kind of realistic, but more the pacing of the multiplayer is a bit more realistic. So the guns, they feel good, great recoil, but you're not running around and sliding around like Call of Duty like an absolute idiot. If you don't know what Insurgency is, essentially it's a multiplayer tactical FPS shooter game that specifically focuses on close quarter combat and also objective orientated multiplayer game modes. If you've heard of a game called The Squad, it's kind of the polar opposite to The Squad. So obviously The Squad is more open warfare. So obviously you've got the little towns and villages, but also massive, not say open world areas, but more like just really vast empty spaces on the map where there's a lot of like vehicle warfare going on. Whereas Insurgency specifically focuses more on the door-to-door sort of breach and go style combat that you get inside of the little towns within sort of the Afghanistan and those types of areas. Now this makes the game incredibly addictive to play because of how adrenaline focused it is with the various encounters on multiplayer. Now Insurgency Sandstorm is a little bit of an older title. Back on PC it came out in 2018. It had a console release in 2021. It does run on the Unreal Engine 4, so it isn't on the latest and greatest Unreal Engine 5, but graphically it still stands up very well, and also the developers have put a lot of time and effort into the intricate details of the gun model, so like how it reloads, the recoil pattern, just how it feels and operates compared to the different guns in the game. It's very, very good. Insurgency Sandstorm has received an update for the Xbox Series S and X, so it is optimized for the next generation consoles and can run at 4K, and it has a bunch of different modes with both 8-player co-op and also PvP matches that can get up to 20 players. And just like some newer games like 6 Days in Fallujah, it does have positional based in-game chat system. So the chat mic, if you're using the in-game lobby chat, if you're near to somebody, you can hear them talking very loud and clear. Then if they go upstairs or they go somewhere else inside of the map, their voice will fade out and get quieter and quieter, so you can't communicate in the same way unless it's over the radio. Next up, we've got probably one of the most overhyped games at the moment, which is Palworlds. This just came out recently and it seems to be everywhere. Every Twitch streamer's playing it, every YouTuber's playing it, every kid playing it while drinking Prime and in between them playing Fortnite. It seems to be all the buzz right now. Palworld is a game that you do have to purchase, but inside of Xbox Game Pass, it does have a game preview option available. So essentially, it's sort of like a demo, so you can download it, play it for a couple hours, see if you actually like it, see if you think it's a bit overhyped or whatever, and then purchase the full game for, I think it is around £24, $25, $30, something like that. If you don't know what Palworld is, it's an action-adventure, survival, and monster taming game created and published by a Chinese developer, Pocket Pair. The game is set in an open world populated with animal-like creatures called pals, which you have to battle and capture to use for base building, traversal, and combat. So basically, you can capture these different animals. It's essentially like Pokemon. So you can capture these different animals, then you can use them to do different things around your base, use them in combat against other AI creatures while you explore the open world. You can customize the character, you can level up the character, you can name the character, you can do a bunch of stuff like that. You have a whole inventory system as well, where you can pick things up while you explore the map and just drag and drop it in there and then craft things, etc. Has quite an interesting art style. It looks a little bit like Pokemon with obviously its art style. And speaking to some friends that have been playing this extensively, they're getting kind of addicted to it. A complete switch of focus from Palworld is Car Mechanic Simulator 2021. This game is available on Xbox Game Pass. I used to play Car Mechanic Simulator back in 2015-16, the first ever game that came out on PC on Steam. The games are all fundamentally exactly the same with their yearly releases or so that they've done, like the different iterations like 2019, 2021, other than they've added further features and enhancements to the overall gameplay. Something really fun and satisfying about Car Mechanic Simulator, basically you start off with a dead basic garage and people just drop vehicles off, and then you take the wheels off the car with the little screws and everything with a little drill gun, then you can change the oil in the car, then you can upgrade your facility so you can have multiple cars in at once. You can test drive the cars in a little sort of test circuit, which is very, very fun, just ragging around the client's car. Then also you can offer various different upgrades. You can purchase used parts, you can purchase parts off of a full market that's brand new. It's very, very fun, from like one of those games that's a bit like City Skylines, where you've got that like business element of the economy that you've got to run, plus obviously the practicality of building out the city. Same with Car Mechanic Simulator. You've got the fun of the economics, building out the business, buying the parts, making a profit, hiring staff, doing whatever, and then you have the practicality of going about and actually doing the different jobs on the car and then leveling up and getting to do fancier better cars as you progress through the various different levels. It's actually a very fun and addictive game, very similar to Farming Simulator in that regard, where you think, who on earth would ever want to play this game? But once you play it, you're like, something about this is quite cool. In a weird way, it's also kind of educational because you sort of understand problems with cars. It's not like real life. I'm not even comparing it to real life where you go, oh, I'm going to know how to fix a car. But you do understand the logistical elements of like, oh, this is a car part that's broken that's caused this problem that you may not have even realized was a car part that existed. You're like, oh, right, okay, yeah, so if we change that and then change that filter, that'll fix that common problem on a car. So it is an element of problem solving to it that I actually think is quite good for probably your development as a human, especially if you're a younger viewer and you're not really exposed too much to understanding the mechanics of a vehicle or engineering. While we're briefly talking about different cars and vehicles, recently added to Xbox Game Pass was F1 2023. If you love racing games, this is something a little bit different. Obviously, if you're a British viewer of my channel, you'll absolutely love Formula One. You'll be like, this is the greatest sport in the world. But if you're American, you may only recently have been exposed to Formula One with it being introduced to the Miami track and also the Las Vegas track, and you may be more of a NASCAR sort of person. But I think F1's probably one of the best racing games, in my personal opinion, when it comes to console racing games. I'm more of a hardcore racing simulator guy, like Assetto Corsa, Competizione, iRacing, stuff like that on my PC with a full-on like motion simulator and stuff. But for console racing, where you have a controller and you're playing with a controller, this is fun. You can both be fast with a controller and enjoy the whole thing of progressing through a career, starting at a crap F1 team and going through the different things, or create your own F1 team in single player and level that up through the different ranks, R&D on the car, improve the parts, spend this on the budget, etc. Or my favorite way to play it's actually with online co-op with a friend. So you do a single player story career mode with a friend in co-op, and you can both get different contracting signings. So you might have a great season and go and race for Red Bull. He might have a rubbish season and go and race for Haas or something like that, or Williams. And then he has a better season than you end up going to maybe Aston Martin, and then he goes off to Ferrari. It's very fun and competitive in the co-op. The AI is a little bit aggressive. Like, they definitely need to improve the AI. EA now owns these F1 games. They used to be made by Codemaster, but they bought out that studio. AI has always been a huge problem in these games, probably since the last sort of 5-6 years. It's been a little bit too aggressive where it will crash into you and sort of ruin your race a little bit. But I absolutely love these games. I love all of the strategy and tactics when it comes to Formula One racing, and it's much better than Forza Motorsport, sort of where you're just bumping and bashing into people. There's actually a bit of a purpose to the point system and stuff that you're actually doing. I have a video on my full channel where I actually train with the McLaren F1 team. I joined the esports team for 48 hours, went to the HQ, learned how to be a pro esports driver. So I literally learned from the world champions, some of the best drivers in the world that play Formula One 2023 on stage and compete for almost like $1 million in tournaments. They trained me and taught me how to get even faster and more competitive in the game, which just made me fall even more in love with this game genre. You can check out that video link down below in the video description. It's available over on my main channel. But before we move on to the next game, the final thing when it comes to the Formula One games on Xbox Game Pass, every single year they add this title. It's part of the EA Play stuff. So last time they had F1 2021. They've also got F1 2022 that's available. F1 2021 is just about to leave because F1 23 has just now joined the lineup. So if you don't want to purchase F1 2024 when that comes out, because essentially they're kind of like the same game with slight changes to the car liveries and stuff, maybe the tire models change quite drastically between the games, you could just stick it out on F1 2021 for about 6 to 8 months, and then you'll be able to get F1 2024 for free on Xbox Game Pass. You don't have to waste like $50-$60 on the latest and greatest game. Next up, we've got Chivalry 2, which is a medieval combat game that is very different to everything else that you typically play. We're so used to playing FPS shooters and that type of stuff for multiplayer. This is where you're literally like a medieval soldier. Couldn't say the word there. Where you've got like a sword, a shield, a metal helmet, and you're running into battle and you're smashing things up. You've got bow and arrows, people firing bow and arrows at you. You've got to siege a castle. It's really fun. There's lots of different objectives that you can capture within the missions, whether that be like pushing a cart through a village and progressing that way, or whether it is literally capturing different rooms within a castle that you're trying to siege. But probably one of the coolest things about this game is the brutality of it. Honestly, when it comes to all of the sword fighting and stuff, like people losing arms, it's very graphic for this style of game, especially modern times where they sort of tone things down a little bit. It is pretty brutal. This is another game that I used to play back in the day on the PC loads. I played both Chivalry 1, then Chivalry 2. Graphics are much better in Chivalry 2 than the first ever game, and it is still held up to date on the Xbox Series S and X because it does have next generation performance patches to give it that 4K resolution and better FPS performance all around. I do also believe this game now has cross-platform multiplayer, which just makes it it so much easier to find a game because people on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox can all play together, which just helps keep that online community nice and vibrant, and it really does help increase the lifespan of a video game. Next up, we've got A Way Out, which is a genre-defining game when it comes to co-op single-player storylines. So traditionally, when you play a single-player game with co-op, you usually see the game from your own perspective as the character you're playing as, like in FPS games or whatever. Whereas with this, it actually splits the screen up like it's a couch co-op game. So you're playing this on multiplayer with a friend in their house, but you'll see each other's character's view split across your screen like an OG sort of original Xbox 360 split screen game when you used to have your friend come around and you would do that split screen to play like the Halo single player or something. This is very interesting because not only does it show two different perspectives, but at certain times within the storyline, it actually splits both the characters off and you see two different sides of the map depending as who you're playing as. And then the fact that the screen is split, you can then sort of like look at each other's screen and get a completely different view and outlook on what's actually happening within the storyline. It's very creative. Unfortunately, the game isn't super long. It's only around 5 to 6 hours, the entire storyline. And once you've played it, you've kind of played it. You could go through it again and play it from the other player's perspective, but that's it sort of done. But this title is critically acclaimed, has raving reviews for being absolutely incredible, both from the storyline and also the gameplay. A genre of game that I used to play quite a lot back on the Xbox 360 as a kid was UFC. But then when I went over to the Xbox One, I literally never played this game for like 10, 12 years. I just never picked it back up. I sort of moved over and was playing different games on the Xbox One rather than sports games. But that all changed recently on Xbox Game Pass when I tried out UFC 4. I also think I played UFC 3 as well briefly when Xbox Game Pass sort of first came out in sort of 2018, 2019. Now this is the latest version of UFC that is available on Xbox Game Pass. There's obviously newer versions of this game. This one's out from 2020, so they delay when they release newer games for the sporting games by 12 months or something like that. But currently at this moment in time, this is the latest version of the game in the franchise that is available on Xbox Game Pass without having to purchase something. And I'm not really that bothered about playing the latest version of a UFC game or even the latest version of like a FIFA, because I usually just play career mode like in FIFA, for example. So I'm transferring all of the players anyways between different clubs. So it doesn't really matter. I don't really play pro clubs or even like ultimate teams. So that doesn't even matter to me. So I still play like FIFA 21 or FIFA 22 because that's on Xbox Game Pass. And it's the same here with UFC 4. You can set up a single player game, not really care too much about all of the different fighters, and just work your way through a single player storyline. And it's a nice change of pace from all of the other titles that I've mentioned on this list and also in past videos where I've talked about some of the best games on Xbox Game Pass. If you want to check out some of those videos where we talk about some of the best games that you can play on your Xbox right now, you should check out this video next and also subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this one, and drop this video a like if you enjoyed it. And as always, I've been Ben Rowlands. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.